Durarara 2 Season 3. Now, this has been an amazing final season, or it was an amazing final season for this second part of the series. The way it ended, we still have a bit of a cliffhanger. There's definitely stuff to be left open. And with this being my spoiler-free review, I'm going to keep things super vague as far as, what I enjoyed and the minor things that I think just weren't utilized, which we might see in a part 3. So I'll be super vague about that. This is actually my second time doing it because I mentioned a specific character and how they didn't show up, and I was like, oops, it's not really a spoiler because I guess they don't show up, so it's technically not a spoiler. But it was something I mentioned before, was like, there are certain elements, and there are literally two characters, which if you watch the season, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But there are two characters that are just gone in this entire season. And I think I realized that going through, I was like, oh, they aren't even in the opening anymore. And it was like, they kind of just, aren't in the show at all. And it seemed really weird because it was like, oh, they're, we'll say well known, to keep it vague. But, I mean, everybody knows everybody. But these characters are well known. And it seemed weird that they'd just be gone. And not even any mention of them, really. Like, there was, not that I can think of. I mean, maybe in passing, like, really minor stuff. But it just seemed weird, like, oh, they kind of just were gone. And that was really, like, the one thing that I thought kind of sucked. It was like, oh, because I wanted that in the last season as well, which I talked about. And the same thing kind of happened in this to an even greater degree. Like, they aren't even in the show whatsoever, and not even in the opening for this season. But it was still an amazing final season for the second series. And, like I said, I can't get into any of the spoilers and stuff, but everything was just insane. It just ramped up. The stuff with Mikado was just, fever pitch. Especially once it got to the last two episodes and the way the episode before the finale ended, I was like almost crying. Honestly, I was like so shocked I couldn't believe what happened. And then the finale happened, and I was like, I don't understand. I don't know how to feel right now. It's crazy, and it was just phenomenal. Like, I loved the way everything played out. The interactions of the characters, the motivations, always just a bunch of craziness. And then learning a lot about really one of the newer characters, because we had her, we got to learn, and this, I guess technically this isn't a spoiler at all, because we didn't learn anything about her, but the woman from the finale, I still can't remember her name. Most of the people, I do not remember the names. I remember everybody from the original series, except for the people involved with Seiji. I can never remember his sister's name or his girlfriend's name, and I never remember any of the people from the band. I just remember them. Walker is the only one I remember because his name is like it's Walker, and that's it. That stands out. And Kadota, because everybody says Kadota's name all the freaking time. So Kadota, if you don't know anyone in this show, you have to know Kadota. Even though they say Kadota, which I felt like they told them to change it up and like, oh, change the pronunciation, which I thought was really weird, because in like the first series, and I think the first season of this one, they would all say Kadota, and then I realized that I think maybe like halfway through the last season, they would say Kadota and stuff. Like, some of the newer characters would pronounce it as Kadota, and I was like, that's weird. I feel like they told them to pronounce it that way because that's the correct pronunciation, which I'm totally fine with. It just seemed weird because I'm so, they did it even in the very first season of this series. But just going through it, like, all these characters, we still get to see so much about them and how they grow and how things develop for these characters, and allegiances change and mind control and all this craziness, and learning more about this woman whose name I totally can't remember. I thought that was very interesting. I liked her character. Really surprising. Like, I was very surprised by the backstory for her character and what we learned about her and some of her connections. And that I thought was pretty cool. And I guess technically, because of her, we do actually see one of the characters that don't show up the entire season. Because of her, we actually see one of those characters show up, and like, I'm pretty sure that was like the very last episode, and we see her during her flashback episode as well. So we see one of the characters show up because of her doing like her flashback and her, like, one of her final scenes in this season. But I liked her character. I like kind of how tough she was very cool to me. I like just the way she was very interesting, because she's super tough, but she kind of just goes by the book. It's like, this is what I'm doing. This crazy stuff happens during certain situations she's involved in, and it's like, look, I don't give a crap about that. I'm paying you to do this. You don't have to listen to anything else that's going on here. You can ignore it if you want to, or you could get involved. I'm just telling you, you work for me. You don't have to get into all this craziness if you don't want to. So I kind of like your character because of that, and just how interesting she was, like just dealing with her life and her personality, and just her backstory. I thought was actually pretty cool. So she's kind of like the new character that we get the most info on. So I enjoyed that. Everything going on between Shiza and Izai in this was pretty cool, especially when it gets to the last two episodes and it gets super intense and scary because just through the whole thing I was wondering if they were going to kill somebody, and it just gets crazy, and I won't say whether or not everybody lives or dies, but things are crazy, and it's pretty much all I can say is that things get insanely crazy, and it's super nuts. But I just love the way it all played out. We have a character that came back, and I never would have expected this character to come back whatsoever, and they do, and I was like, huh, didn't see that one coming. And they bring in another little twist with them as well, and it kind of changes the game, which I would love to see. Kind of the new explanation they gave for one of the supernatural elements in this show. If it does get renewed for a series 3, I'd love to see them kind of expand on that. Like, they can't really expand on it, but just kind of use it more and see how different characters are affected by that supernatural element being used in a different way. So that I think would be very interesting. I like the music. Once again, the music is good. I'd say the opening is probably my least favorite out of all the openings that they've had so far, including the two for the original series. But I would like to mention that the group that does it is my favorite rock group, period, actually, in its flow. And they've done like a billion other anime openings. They did like the first Code Geass, which is one of my favorite opening anime songs. They've done like a billion Naruto songs. So you probably heard their songs if you watch Naruto, and they've done a ton of anime. If you see them in concert, specifically, if you see them at their anime conventions, they do all the big anime hits. But I always loved that group, so when I saw that it was them, I was like, oh, that's cool. I do like the song. Honestly, I prefer the beat to the actual lyrics, like, because when it starts off, I actually think it sounds really cool, and when they always do the recap portion, I'm like, I actually just like the background beat, really dun 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 dun. I actually think that sounds really cool. So I actually like that a bit more than the actual lyrics, but I still think it's a cool song. I definitely like the ending, and they've always kept with the style of all the characters being chained together, and I just like how that all played out. But it was a really good season. It still ended on a cliffhanger. I mean, I shouldn't say it ended on a cliffhanger, but it was a lot like the original series, I'd say, where it ended and it's like, okay, the story definitely ended, but there are a billion other things. Like when the original series ended, Celty, of course, didn't have her head, and it's like, okay, well, it ended, and that was, before they were doing, hopefully, series 3 comes out this year, relatively soon, and we don't have to wait another like 8 years or something crazy. It's like, hey, the La 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 3. But even in the old series, it was sort of the same thing. So it still ends that way with certain aspects, and it's like, all right, I noticed this in like the past 2 seasons as well, where it's like, okay, this all has to come to a head, and not everything does, and it's like, okay, that definitely means there's more stuff to be left open. There's more stuff to be dealt with, and it's very clear, like as you go, especially in the finale, it's like, all right, certain elements do wrap up, and then there are other overarching elements that you can tell can be like the main story of the next series, which possibly could last for 3 more seasons, depending on, of course, how the manga did it and how the mangaka wants to do it once they do the adaptation. But I certainly love this one. It was a great final season. The last 2 episodes were just like I'd say, the last 2 for sure were like just insanely intense. I think maybe the last 3, if you put like the last 3 or 4 episodes together, it's just a madhouse. Like just some of the stuff that happens, and how two very specific characters change to like just a very intense point, and it just messes you up a little bit. And I loved it. I was like, this is insane. I don't know how this is gonna play out, but it was just fun. Dealing with Mikado and everything he went through was just insane and scary, but awesome, but mostly scary. Just going through, like, I don't know where he's going. I don't know how crazy he is. I don't know. And then, he and Masaomi, they know that they're going up against each other. Just like in the last season, it's just like this. We get to see the continuation of that from the last season, where it kind of picked up. You know, it basically started in like that last episode, or like the last two, when their groups actually started to fight, and we just see that build up and other groups and all this, you know, other characters and stuff. And it was just great. Like, I really loved it. It was a great final season for this one. I can't wait to see the next one. If it unfortunately doesn't get renewed, I will definitely be transitioning to the manga, and I probably will either way. But definitely a great one, of course. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a spoiler video for this one because this is my spoiler-free review, so that's why it was so incredibly vague. But I would definitely love to know what you guys thought about this season. If you want to wait to the spoiler discussion video, you can put all your comments there. But if you want to put them here before, you know, that one eventually ends up uploading, you definitely can. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite moments, your least favorite moments, things about the characters, favorite new character maybe. I didn't really think about asking that when I did my other two reviews for the first two seasons. But I'd love to know, like, some of your favorite new characters. I think Verona really became one of my favorite new characters. Verona, and I can't remember the guy's name, but Verona and like the red-haired dude with one eye, I think they're like my two favorite new characters. And yeah, I think those are my two favorite new characters. Aoba had created some great story elements because I knew he was going to end up being like Shizuo in that very first season. So I like him for that because it added like another crazy character like Shizuo into the story. But I don't like him. I definitely like Verona, probably because they're both good guys, but you can like bad guys too. But I really like Verona and the red-haired dude. I think they're actually both pretty cool. So they're my two favorite, you know, new characters in the show for this series at least. But I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Like I said, if you prefer to just wait until the spoiler video, you can. If not, just make sure you put spoiler tags if you know it's going to be a spoiler. If it's vague, just like, you know, I like this character because of this. Yeah, as long as it's a minor plot point, I guess you can put it. I prefer if you put spoilers in general if it explains anything. That's why my spoiler-free stuff is always super, super vague. I try not to even specify the sex of certain characters and stuff. But, you know, if it's something like super, super minor, then you can put it without a spoiler tag. But still would like to know what you guys think about it. But like I said, you can definitely wait because I'm going to do my spoiler video right after this one. So it should be uploaded fairly soon after, you know, this ends up uploading. But definitely want to know what you guys think. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.